So before shipping any SaaS to the world, it must have a few non-negotiable things. The core feature that actually works, secure and frictionless login, and the last but not least, it must have a great user experience. So my strategy for this application to stand out among the others is to deliver that exact experience. And by the way, if you're new here and you have no idea what app I'm talking about, my name is Igor, I'm a full-time software engineer, and in my spare time I'm building a startup from scratch. The idea is a high-performance URL shortener with a minimalistic and modern UI. So I built a feature and got completely addicted to perfecting its UX. And actually I printed this yesterday and the dashboard is already outdated because I've added so much more. And yeah, it's an analytics dashboard. But you can ask why I dedicated that much time to the analytics. So I personally stick to the applications and services that are freaking beautiful, extremely functional, and delivering amazing user experience. And I'm starting to understand why UX is taking so much time to perfect. But it's definitely worth every minute of your work. So the timeline with this application development was the following. It took like 1 or 2 hours to build the core feature. And I'm not kidding, it's really that simple. All you need is to generate a short key, save it, and make it redirect to the original URL. The first thing that's actually started to eat up the time is the login flow. And yeah, I get it, you can use the existing solutions and plug it to your app in minutes. But what if you really want to be in control of your login? What if you want to get your hands dirty? What if you want to feel that pain? Okay, the last one is not necessary. But yeah, I went that route, and even though I kinda hate dealing with security, it was extremely satisfying to realize that everything works like a clock. And this brings us to the next boss, analytics. So the deal with that one is I simply love seeing visualized data. It's beautiful and very insightful. Therefore, I would say you should have it for yourself or for your customers around the core feature, or ideally even both. In my URL shortener, I tend to think that analytics is one of the core features. And you know why? It's because you shorten an URL, now people can reach the original URL by using it. Cool, but what's next? In almost 100%, I would like to see how many people click on it, where they are located, what device and operation system they use. And oh man, implementing that from the backend perspective, it was challenging and fun at the same time. However, one wrong decision here and the nice UX rides into the sunset. This is exactly what users are affected by. But what you're affected by is the database size and what's more important, the cost for it. That could skyrocket, if not in hours, but definitely in days. So I asked Claude to generate a diagram to illustrate a comparison between inefficient way for fetching analytics from database, and this one is very bad one because it literally can ruin the user experience. And then I'm gonna go through the efficient one, the one that I implemented. So the no-go way to provide the analytics for users would be to send a single request, let's say for a period of 30 days, and then you fetch all the data that you have and your application already starts to struggle, and it doesn't matter whether it's Java or not, it wouldn't be able to keep up if it would receive multiple similar requests. And then you would group everything inside the backend. In other words, you would build every analytics block within the single request and dump that back to the front end. And the response time could vary from, let's say, 5 seconds to even 30 seconds. And the response time is what users would feel. So let's say you want to get the analytics dashboard for your short URLs and you need to wait like 20 seconds. It's ridiculous. In other words, it is really bad approach. So yeah, but what would be more efficient in this way? So instead of having a single request that would fetch the entire analytics for your dashboard, would be to spread that to multiple independent requests that would be sent in parallel. And imagine you would have the main graph that shows how many clicks were made within the time range, and then you want to have a breakdown by country, refer, the device, operation system, and so on. And this is exactly what I came up to. So those are separate individual requests and they're processed independently, and All the calculation and grouping by are done within the database, so heavy lifting is delegated to SQL. And eventually, if you have the same breakdown as I described previously, all of those should be rendered independently as well, and they are not waiting for other requests. So yeah, as soon as the response arrives, you can render your analytics section. And of course, to make those SQL queries efficient, you need to have indexes. And let's say if you fetch by user ID and date, those two should be indexed. Database definitely should not be a bottleneck here. But how do I decide what matters and what not? Where it makes sense to spend a little more time on optimizations and when it's just a waste of time. So with this SaaS and in my daily 9 to 5 job, I'd like to do simple projections that literally can answer questions like what annoys you today, or what do you avoid doing because it's tedious, what could make your life easier, or what do you wish took 5 seconds instead of 10 minutes, or even half a second instead of 5. And all these questions can become user stories. Like, as a user, I want to have a snappy and informative analytics page. Or as a user, I want to create short URL fast, and actually I've just copied a long URL and my finger index is still on C key. Yeah, I hear you, boss, it's already done. So yeah, you can press C and you can create your link as fast as it's possible. But what's the best way to come up with those questions and stories? I guess the best way is to put a customer hat on yourself and think about what you like about the application, how would you use it, what would you improve, and most importantly, what irritates you. And for me, doing so with this project is super easy because I will be the first customer of the service. I guess it's like a superpower. I know the friction, I know the experience that I want, and what's cool about it is that I don't need to do a lot of research. In some way, it's still needed, but way less. Alright, so here is the dashboard itself. It is still work in progress, so it's kinda too soon to judge, but I am already loving the direction it's heading to. So here is the main graph, and here you can see the comparison versus the previous period, which is selected. And of course, you can hover over any date and you would see the number of clicks. And what was important for me is to have a date presets, so I could switch really fast between those. So I don't need to go to the date picker and pick a date that I want, because more often I am interested in those periods, which is 7 days, 30 days, and 3 months. And down below is a breakdown with more granular data. So here you can see the most performant links. The URLs here are kinda ugly for now. They're gonna be replaced by nice short URLs eventually. And on the right, you could see the referrers. Basically, it's the channel or source from where the redirect using your short link was made, and the number of clicks per refer, and the counters here are shown only for the period that is selected. Then there is a breakdown by countries and continents, and also the ones for the devices and operation system. So yeah, by having those independent requests, we can populate every section individually, and the data fetching is super fast. It's loaded almost instantly. And of course, it has a nice dark mode, so yeah, I didn't forget about that one. And actually, when I've just added these charts, it felt like something is missing here. Something that I used to do with this kind of charts, and this feature is not there. So this inspiration came from my engineering job. I work at the gaming studio and I'm a part of the backend team. And when our players are complaining about something, with almost 100% certainty, there would be some kind of spikes in errors in Grafana. And if you don't know what Grafana is, it's basically a metric service. So the spike would look exactly like this one that happened on the January 31st. And what I like to do is just zoom in this period and understand what was caused of those errors. So it started on January 30th and ended on February 2nd. So in the most services where they provide analytics, they would offer to go to the custom date range and select the date range that you want. It's kind of fine, but it still adds a little bit of friction. And instead of that and what Grafana metrics offer, you can just click on the area that you're interested and drag it where you want to zoom in. And that's simple as that. So you don't need to go to the custom range, you just grab it and zoom in. So yeah, I really enjoy adding features like that. And now when you're in this zoomed view, you can see what exact links caused that spike. So yeah, in this case, it's this first one, and the most traffic came from X. And the country that caused the spike was India. So yeah, in my opinion, it's very insightful, and in a way it kind of puts a detective hat on you, so you could do your little investigation where the spike happens and who was responsible for that. And also, if you're interested where the data is coming from, so I have a little script that generates 1 million rows for a given user and short link IDs, and those are exact links that I am having here. So basically it's randomly generating a data that's spread along the entire past year, and I want it to be not a stated data. I want to have like spikes and dead days where there is no clicks at all. And if you're thinking that all that is written by me, it's not. I asked Claude and it actually did a great job. So if I go to my backend and I calculate the number of records in my database, I would get exactly 1 million rows. So yeah, if you want to make your users or customers happy, definitely do spend some time on improving your user experience. And as you saw, it's not always laying on the front end. You just need to ask right questions and come up with those user stories. Alright, that's all for now, and happy shipping, guys. See you next time.